Let's turn now, if we can, to your Park Service career. I guess we have part of the answer already, but why in the world did you choose such a hard job as the Park Service?
Our customers ask us, well, what does a park ranger do? They didn't know. I really didn't know when I started it. My first day on the job was at Edisto Beach State Park, Easter weekend, and my job was to run the cash register. Of course, it broke at the admission gate, and we ended up having to do over $1,000 worth of business with our little Iron Ranger tickets, and I did not have a clue what I got myself into. I didn't realize as much business is involved with the Park Service. It's not just riding around looking at the trees and the deer. It's a lot of dealing with people. It's a lot of dealing with the resources on the parks. And it's a lot of dealing with business. Like you said, we are a business, and we have a major operation here that we're responsible for a lot of resources and a lot of people at the same time.
Well, it's nothing that could be taken lightly. Where was your first park?
Edisto Beach State Park.
And how long did you stay at Edisto?
About a year and a half.
That just has to be one of my favorite parks.
Beautiful place. Probably one of the most gorgeous places I've ever been in my life. It's amazing.
Every time I go there, which is fairly often, I find something that I hadn't seen in the last 20 or 30 trips. And then where did you go after Edisto?
After Edisto, I went to Croft State Park, which is just outside of Spartanburg.
Certainly. We've had a Carolina-Considered program there with park manager John Moon and his associates. That's a beautiful place.
Yes, sir. I learned a lot at that park, and it was a big change going from Edisto Beach, a big, busy vacation spot, to Croft State Park, which is more of a, it's still a big destination for a lot of people camping and horseback, but it's also a big community park as well.
They do a lot of horseback business up there, don't they?
Very much so.
Yeah, that was a nice place. And after Croft?
After Croft, I went to Barnwell State Park.
Well, you must have some relative high up in the Park Service to get those kinds of assignments.
Barnwell's another one of those places. It's a little oasis out there. You don't realize what is there until you actually go through the gates of the park and you see the two lakes and the cabins and the campground, and just it's an amazing landscape that you don't really realize is there in Barnwell, South Carolina.
I had no idea before I visited. It's just a miraculous place. Now, you're not going to tell me that your fishing is as good as it is at Barnwell, are you?
From what I understand, our fishing is on par, if not better than Barnwell's here at Chester State Park.
Oh my goodness, that's strong talk.
I know it. I did a lot of fishing at Barnwell, and I know the spots at Barnwell. I'm still fairly new to this park. I haven't found all the spots yet here.
Well, really, is the fishing that good here?
From what I've been told, I've not experienced a spring season here yet, but this is the place in Chester County for people to go, especially the crappie fishing and largemouth bass. A good bit of largemouth bass fishing out here as well.
Oh, that's good. We want to hear more about that when we talk about the park specifically. But how long were you able to stay at Barnwell?
I was at Barnwell for about a year and a half as well.
And then?
Then Santee State Park.
What an experience! Talk about a different place.
Yes, sir. Went from Little Barnwell State Park to big, giant Santee State Park. A very, very busy place year-round with the cabins and the camping, and just going from Barnwell's, their two little lakes, 10 or 15 acre lakes, to going to a lake that's over 100,000 acres, that's nationally known for world records, and just millions of people every year coming through. It was a giant change.
And you don't just navigate that lake at Santee without some knowledge.
No, sir. You really need to know where you're going out there, or you can get lost in a hurry.
From Santee?
From Santee, I went to Kings Mountain State Park.
Oh my! Another beautiful and very different.
Very much so. Again, it's a big community park, but it's also a destination point because of the history there. The Living History Farm at the state park. Right next door, you have the National Military Park with the battlefield there from the Revolutionary War. So it's another completely different clientele, different change of business altogether.
Did you have anything to do with that working farm when you were there?
I did help out a good bit. We have the park interpretive ranger there, and we help do programs. helped take care of the animals. That was, my dad couldn't understand it. He called me on the cell phone one day when I was at work, and he said, "What you doing?" And I said, "I'm feeding the mules out here." And he said, "I swear, you spend 4 years and $40,000 at Clemson until you go play with a mule all day. I can't believe this." But I had a ball at Kings Mountain. So.
Well, it's one of my favorite spots too. That is a remarkable park, and you must have come from Kings Mountain to here. I mean,
yes,
we're running out of years here.
Right. I've been at Chester State Park. I was at Kings Mountain for about 3.5 years, and then I came to Chester State Park back in September.
How in the world can a state as geographically small as South Carolina have such diversity in its state parks?
That's a good question. South Carolina does change a lot. You go from the ocean to the mountains. You go from different types of soil types. The geography itself changes all the way across the state. I think it appears almost like the economy has chased that geography. We have industries and agriculture in different areas that are more suitable for different areas of the state. The large agricultural industry down in the lower part of the state, then you start moving into the heavier clay soils with the rocks. It's more suitable to pasture land or maybe even industry, and not the big field areas. And the economies chase that geography, it appears to me, across South Carolina. And that changes the people. I mean, you have a different class of people that follow the different types of industry across the state.
And the parks reflect those differences, I guess?
To an extent, yes, sir. I mean, we all have a general theme throughout our parks. I mean, it's all South Carolina. And if you go to Oconee State Park, you know you're in South Carolina. You go to Barnwell State Park, you know you're in South Carolina. You go to Little PD, you're still in South Carolina. They look completely different, but you're still in South Carolina.
But they still have that distinctive South Carolina flavor.
Yes, sir.